Concerned about children today who are exposed to unregulated amounts in the food they love most, fast food and snacks.
Oh, those are mine. Leave them alone.
10-year-old Jeremy Laros had been diagnosed as hyperactive, failing in school, and had been subjected to everything from drug therapy to special education programs, but nothing helped.
I couldn't get my work done and stuff, and so the teachers were always yelling at me, and everybody was teasing me because when they thought that I had a attention deficit disorder.
Other children didn't want to be around him.
Julie Laros was ready to give up. For 5 years, her son Jeremy was angry and aggressive toward his schoolmates and family.
He was miserable because he couldn't cope with his own behavior.
Jeremy's family took him to Dr. Schwartz, who told them to remove all MSG from his diet. Almost immediately, there were dramatic changes. His hyperactivity disappeared, his grades dramatically improved, and so did his relationships with friends and family.
Okay, Jeremy? Yes, I'm okay.
We lost him for 5 years, and we have him back. And he's a wonderful, delightful, beautiful, bright child, and it was a long, hard search.
Let me ask you to get to the nut of this thing. Would you like to have more studies?
Yes, I would.
Now, you're the person the Glutamate Association sent us to see. And you think there should be more studies?
I think there should be more studies, yes, particularly in patients who complain of difficult reactions after MSG. I think it's a small group.
But enough people in our population so that perhaps there is a problem that we need to do something about. At least we need to find out.
I think it requires further study.
Several food companies have told us that because of consumer complaints, they're removing the pure MSG from their products. But when we questioned whether they were also removing the hidden sources of MSG, they told us they weren't sure. Do consumers have a right, for example, to go to a grocery store or a restaurant and be able to know that the food that they're about to eat won't make them sick?
We think the current rules governing disclosure of MSG are adequate to inform consumers from a health standpoint about the presence of MSG.
Having said that, Mr. Taylor went on to announce that the FDA is about to propose a change in the rules that would require that hydrolyzed protein be labeled to say it contains MSG. But what about all those other ways MSG is hidden in foods? Will they also be labeled? You can see a label that says sodium caseinate. There can be some MSG in that. It will say autolyzed yeast. There can be some MSG in that. It can say natural flavorings. Those natural flavorings can contain glutamates, MSG. So, under the new regulation, the new law, will all of those categories have to say this includes MSG?
When MSG is present in another food ingredient at significant and functional levels where the MSG is having itself a flavor-enhancing function in the product, the answer is yes. I'm not prepared to tell you with respect to each of those examples that that's the case, but that's part of what will be resolved in the rulemaking process.
The FDA says this process will take at least a year. In the meantime, what about the consumer who wants to avoid MSG? At least for now, you're on your own. When we recently spoke to the FDA for a progress report, they told us nothing's changed.